I am Abdulkoyum. The new mechanic I created for CMR is AudiOrienteeringRealm. It's a mechanic that encourages the use of other senses apart from visuals. It encourages the player to rely on their sense of listening, spatial deduction, and sound. Visuals are not entirely alien to the mechanic, but rather the player has a limited area of visual perception while playing the game. It has haptic feedbacks and also text to speech for events in the game. Players will also be able to perform repetitive tasks by using voice commands and making simple gestures. So it's more advantageous over other rated mechanics because it involves normal gamers, because it involves graphics but limited field of view, probably an environment set in a dark place, and it's also completely accessible to the visually impaired because of the features like voice commands, text to speech, audio feedbacks. It also doesn't require high-end devices with gyroscope features like most mechanics. Not all devices have gyroscope features, and this mainly doesn't implement the gyroscope features. And also repetitive actions can be performed very easily. So for the player class, for the mechanic, I separated that into five scripts: the audio manager, gesture control, player controller, text to speech, voice command, and the volume increment. For the player controller class, it does have a single function here that takes damage for the player, so it deducts from the player health. So mainly since the mechanic is heavily reliant on audio, so the audio feedback is almost not part of the game. So here, once the player is one player has died, it plays the sound effects from the audio manager, and also if the player has reached critical health, so haptic feedback. So just to indicate to the player that he or she has reached critical health. So except that even if the player hasn't reached critical health or died, it also plays sound effect to let the player know that the character has been out. So the audio manager has two audio sources, one for the sound effects and one for the music source. It has two functions that play via the effects source or the music source. So the functions are public, so they can be called from anywhere in the script that has a reference to audio manager. So these are some implementations of the functions for the voice command sources. Okay, so this for the voice command, the player is able to control it via the keyword recognizer. This is mainly for Windows. For other Androids or iOS, other third-party APIs could be used. So for Windows and Windows Phone keyword recognizer, so I saved these keywords: move forward, move backward, left and right. So and then I initialize the keyword recognizer. I subscribe to the events. So once it has recognized the particular word, it performs the corresponding functions. So and then for the repetitive movements, so that the player will not have to repeat move forward, move forward, move forward again. So I just use a simple check function to check if the player is touching the screen and then issuing the command. As long as the touch is still stationary, the player will keep moving forward. Then the gesture control works with the menu manager script. So simply once the player swipes up or down or left or right, so you can pause the game, skip the intro, go to menu, whatever function here. So then for the volume controller to indicate how close the player is to a particular environment, let's say the door, that would indicate the key that is jingling or if gas that is burning. So I simply use the distance between the audio source and the player, and then use that to calculate a new volume. And I could also implement this with the 3D settings from the audio source component. So this would, I could use the linear roll-off or the logarithmic roll-off. So it just reduces the volume as the player moves far away from the audio source. And also for the text to speech, it uses so there are third party assets for this, and also one could use the window speech synthesis. So mainly it receives a string as a parameter and then uses that, just speaks the speech out. It could be implemented, let's say, for the antagonist or an advice to the player. Probably you are almost reaching the goal, just some few keywords. So this is how I would implement the player class for the audio orienteering realm. Thanks for listening.